Haven't you spent your whole life being told that once you hit your 70s, walking is the be-all and end-all? That it's the elixir of life for your joints and your heart? But what if I told you that your routine daily stroll might actually be slowly yet surely wrecking your knees? And what if running, the activity everyone views as pure poison for older people, could actually be the thing that saves them? Sounds bonkers, doesn't it? Well, in today's video, we're pitting these two giants of physical activity, walking and running, against each other. I promise you, by the time we finish, you'll look at your usual neighbourhood strolls and those park runs in a completely new light. We're going to dismantle the entire theory piece by piece and figure out what actually benefits your joints when you're in your 70s. The answer might genuinely shock you. Now, before we kick off this investigation, let's take a quick peek inside the human machine. Focus on your main joints, the knees, the hips. As we age, especially reaching that milestone of 70, natural changes occur. The cartilage, which acts as our body's primary shock absorber, often starts to thin out. Synovial fluid, our body's natural lubricant, decreases. The muscles and ligaments that support the joint lose their former strength and elasticity. This is precisely why the question of which type of stress is beneficial and which is harmful isn't just about feeling good. It's about maintaining mobility and genuine quality of life in retirement. For decades, the medical establishment's doctrine has been simple. Less impact means healthier joints. And that straightforward idea created the core myth we are here to bust today. Right then, let's tackle the biggest, scariest myth, the one that holds many of us back, like a stiff, aching joint. This myth insists that running is an absolute killer for the knees and hips, especially when you hit 70. For decades, we've been told that every foot strike is just another nail in the coffin of our mobility. Picture this: fragile cartilage grinding away like chalk on rough sandpaper with every single stride. That analogy is so potent and so visual that most of us of a certain age won't even entertain running as an option, preferring the supposedly safer route of walking. But what if I told you that entire picture is fundamentally wrong? What if our body isn't just basic mechanics, but a complex, self-repairing system? Recent science has started painting a very different picture indeed, one that turns these old assumptions on their head. In this new view of the world, running, under the right conditions, turns out not to be a destroyer, but a genuine friend and protector of our joints. Ready to smash this stereotype with us? Then lean in and listen closely. To really grasp why a bit of running can actually be good for us, we need to look closely at how our joint cartilage feeds itself. Unlike our muscles, cartilage doesn't have any blood vessels. It soaks up all its nourishment directly from the synovial fluid. That's the slick, natural oil in our joints. Now think of your cartilage as a kitchen sponge. To get it fully soaked with water or nutrients, you have to give it a good squeeze and then let it expand again. That's exactly what happens in your joints. The cyclical motion and moderate stress from jogging essentially act as a pump. When your foot lands, it gently squeezes out all the metabolic waste products. Then, as you push off, the cartilage expands like that sponge, sucking up fresh, nutrient-rich joint fluid. This vital pumping process is known medically as mechanotransduction, and it is absolutely crucial for keeping your cartilage healthy. What this means is that if you have zero load or just a constant weak load like sitting all day, you effectively switch off this crucial nutritional pump. And that lack of stimulation is what can lead to the cartilage starting to degrade. So moderate jogging isn't actually wearing down your joints. Quite the opposite. It stimulates natural renewal, making the cartilage healthier, stronger, and far more resilient. This fundamental finding truly changes the entire conversation. However, there is one crucial, overarching but we must consider. When we discuss the health benefits of running, we are strictly referring to proper, intelligent running. This is certainly not about sprinting down the pavement in worn-out old trainers. For anyone approaching 70, the key words you need to remember are gradual progression and technique. First up, the surface. Hard asphalt or concrete is far too jarring and harsh on the joints. We should be looking for soft woodland paths, specialised running tracks at a stadium, or even a good quality treadmill with excellent shock absorption. Secondly, footwear. Dedicated running trainers are not just a gimmick. They are an essential tool designed to damp those jarring impacts. They must be individually selected and fitted, taking your specific gait and foot structure into account. Thirdly, focus on technique. Forget heavy heel striking, that painful thud, where the heel hits the ground first. Your run should be light with a gentle landing on the middle of your foot, using short, quick, repetitive steps. This is key to protecting your knees and back. And most importantly of all, start gently. Alternate just 1 minute of jogging with 5 minutes of walking, then slowly increase those running intervals. This measured approach turns what could potentially be a damaging activity into a genuinely restorative and therapeutic routine. Now let's turn the tables and have a serious look at walking. It's generally considered the universal good. Completely harmless, isn't it? Just walk and you'll be absolutely fine. We hear that mantra everywhere. But that, I'm afraid, is a dangerous misconception. Yes, walking is certainly a low-impact exercise, and that's undeniably its greatest advantage. However, the devil, as they say, is always in the details. Picture this. You walk for an hour every single day, but you're doing it with poor posture, inadequate, rubbish footwear, and with a gait that puts asymmetric stress on your joints. Over the course of a year, that adds up to millions of incorrect, micro-damaging movements. Unlike running, where poor technique usually leads to quick, sharp pain that forces you to stop, mistakes in walking build up over decades, subtly undermining your joint health. Consequently, by the time someone reaches 70, they might find themselves struggling with crippling arthritis, genuinely believing they spent their whole life doing something healthy, never suspecting they were harming themselves with every single step. So, let's explore how we can properly transform walking from a potential foe into a true, lifelong friend. The very first thing we need to address is your posture. Take a moment and look at yourself in the mirror whilst walking. Are your shoulders hunched? Is your head poking forward? Are you looking down at your feet? If so, this is a sure recipe for trouble. This kind of slump doesn't just create excessive strain in your neck and back, it also shifts your centre of gravity. And that leads to an awful imbalance, putting far too much pressure on your hips and knees. Essentially, with every single step, your joints are working in a highly inefficient and damaging way. Proper walking posture means your shoulders are rolled back and relaxed, your shoulder blades are gently drawn together, your spine is straight, and your gaze is directed straight ahead, not down. Imagine there's a string pulling the crown of your head up towards the sky. Your tummy should also be slightly tucked in, just gently bracing your core. This helps stabilise your lower back beautifully. Controlling all of this might feel a little awkward or unnatural at first, but stick with it. It will become second nature, I promise. Remember, every step you take with correct posture is actually a therapeutic movement. It strengthens your core muscles and eases the pressure on your joints. But every step taken with poor posture is a tiny bit of damage, a micro-trauma, that will eventually lead to unnecessary pain and terrible wear and tear. The second absolutely crucial element we need to discuss is your footwear. Now, I know many of us, as we get a bit older, tend to slip into soft slippers, those old broken-in trainers, or perhaps some cheap worn-out shoes, thinking, oh, they'll do for a quick stroll. Let me tell you, that is a massive mistake. Think of your feet as the foundation of your entire body. If those foundations are shaky and unstable, the whole structure is going to suffer. Your walking shoes must have excellent shock absorption, especially right under the heel, to really cushion the impact every time your foot hits the ground. They also need robust arch support. This is key to stopping your foot from rolling either inwards or outwards as you step. A firm, solid heel counter, that's the stiff bit at the back, is absolutely vital for keeping your ankle joint stable. And naturally, they must fit perfectly. You need just a small bit of wiggle room at the front of the toe box, ideally about 1 centimetre. Walking around in flat, worn out, too loose, or too tight footwear messes up the natural way you walk, your gait. That instability inevitably stresses your knees, your hips, and the wobble travels right up your spine. Investing in a high-quality pair of dedicated walking shoes isn't an expense. It is perhaps the single best investment you can make in the long-term health of your joints. Please don't skimp on your foundation. Let's have a quick, simple chat about physics and numbers. Impact load, that's just the force your body hits the ground with. When you're walking, that load is roughly between 1.2 and 1.5 times your own body weight. So, if you happen to weigh 70 kilograms, every step you take puts about 100 kilos of pressure on your joints. Now, running is a different story. That figure jumps right up to 3 or even 4 times your body weight. That's potentially 280 kilograms. So, the choice seems obvious. Walking must be safer. But here's the catch. During an hour-long walk, you take far more steps than you would during, say, a 20-minute jog. This means the total cumulative load on your joints over the entire session could actually be comparable. What's more, the nature of the load is different. Running involves less frequent yet powerful impulses. These, as we've discovered, can actually help stimulate cartilage. Walking, on the other hand, is monotonous and long-lasting. If your technique isn't quite right, it can feel like a sustained, grinding stress. So it's not just about the strength of the impact, it's also about its duration, frequency, and quality. You simply can't just assume that a lower impact is always good and a higher impact is always bad. Let's turn our attention now to the true champion protecting our joints. It's not creams, it's not pills, and it certainly isn't those fancy miracle braces. The answer, my friends, lies in our very own muscles. Just imagine your knee joint. It's quite a delicate piece of machinery, isn't it? The muscles surrounding it, the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, these form a powerful system of shock absorbers and stabilizers. When these muscles are strong and toned, they absorb the lion's share of the impact every time we take a step, or even when we're jogging. They keep the joint firmly controlled, preventing it from rattling loose or wobbling about. However, if the muscles are weak, all that jarring impact is transferred directly onto the cartilage and the ligaments. This explains why two people of the exact same age and weight can react completely differently to the same physical stress. One might have strong muscles protecting the joints, allowing them to run happily, while the other, with weaker muscles, finds that even simple walking causes aches and pains. So the real crucial question isn't, should I run or should I walk? It's always, are my muscles strong enough to protect my joints during this chosen activity? How does walking help shore up those crucial support muscles? Keeping up a regular routine, especially if you get a good, brisk pace going, or even tackle some hills and uneven terrain, is absolutely brilliant for keeping your leg and backside muscles toned. Crucially, it stops them from wasting away, which is a massive advantage once you hit your 70s. Walking is a splendid way to maintain a foundational level of muscle activity, improve the blood circulation in your limbs, and build up your overall stamina. Walking uphill is particularly effective. It specifically targets those upper thigh muscles and your glutes, without subjecting your knees to much pounding when you walk back down the slopes. However, we must be honest, if you want significant gains in muscle strength and size, just strolling along the flat might not cut it. Walking tends to maintain what you already have, rather than actively building new bulk. Therefore, it's best viewed as a brilliant baseline activity, something you absolutely need to top up with dedicated strength or resistance exercises aimed specifically at those key muscle groups. But what about running or jogging? When we look purely at building muscle strength, running is certainly more effective than walking. When you run, your muscles have to put in much more effort, both for pushing off the ground and stabilizing your body when you land. It's a more intense workload, which better encourages muscle fibers to strengthen and grow. Running is excellent not just for your leg muscles, but also for what we call the core. That's your tummy and back muscles that are crucial for keeping your entire body stable. A strong core is the key to good technique and significantly reduces the strain on your spine and joints. This creates a rather interesting, almost virtuous cycle. You need strong muscles to run safely, yet running itself, if you start it properly and gradually, is a magnificent tool for building those very muscles. It's a process where the cause and effect effectively swap places. You start with short, slow jogs. You give your muscles that stimulus, they become stronger, and that strength then allows you to run a little bit further and a little bit faster, which in turn strengthens the muscles even more. The most important thing is simply not to force things and to give your body the time it needs to adapt. Right, let's take a quick break from talking about those tricky joints for a moment and focus on the heart, shall we? From a cardiology standpoint, running definitely pulls ahead here. Running is simply a more intense cardiovascular workout. It really makes your heart muscle, your main engine, work harder, pumping more blood, strengthening that muscle, and making it both stronger and more resilient over time. Regular jogs are fantastic for keeping key health metrics in check. They effectively lower blood pressure, reduce bad cholesterol, improve insulin sensitivity, and provide robust protection against cardiovascular disease, which, let's face it, is the leading cause of mortality as we get older. Now, to get the same level of cardio benefit from walking, you have to really commit. You either need to walk incredibly fast, almost breaking into a run, or walk for a very long duration, or perhaps choose routes with significant elevation, like walking steeply uphill. For most 70-year-olds, a 20-minute light jog is actually a much more efficient cardiovascular workout than an hour-long, leisurely stroll. It simply boils down to a more effective use of your time when it comes to training your most vital muscle. We absolutely shouldn't write off walking when we talk about heart health. That really wouldn't be fair, would it? For many people in their 70s, especially those just starting to get active, a good old brisk walk is the ideal starting point. Studies consistently show that walking regularly, at a moderate or brisk pace, that well-known tempo where you can talk, but perhaps you can't quite sing, significantly cuts the risk of cardiovascular disease. The key here is consistency and, crucially, intensity. Simply strolling aimlessly around the park or looking in shop windows just won't cut it. We're talking about a focused routine. You put on those comfortable shoes, head out, and walk non-stop for 30 to 40 minutes. You need a pace that makes your heart pump a little faster and gets your breath moving. This sort of walking is a wonderful, safe way to maintain great cardiovascular health, and it's accessible to nearly everyone. So if running isn't an option for you for whatever reason, brisk walking truly is a brilliant alternative. Another absolutely vital aspect of keeping well as we get older is maintaining good bone density and, crucially, avoiding osteoporosis. Our bones, much like our joints, respond to stress and loading by becoming stronger. This principle is famously known as Wolff's Law. To really kickstart the bone-building process, we need what specialists call axial or impact loading. And this is precisely where running truly excels. Think of it this way. Every time your foot strikes the ground when running, a tiny micro-vibration travels right through your bones. This subtle signal tells the osteoblasts, the vital cells responsible for constructing new bone tissue, that it's time to get busy. This remarkable effect makes running one of the absolute best exercises we can do for strengthening our bones and drastically reducing the risk of fractures, particularly the very worrying hip fracture. Now, walking is certainly a weight-bearing activity, and it absolutely helps maintain bone density, but its stimulating effect is substantially lower compared to running. Therefore, provided you have no medical contraindications, simply incorporating short bursts of gentle jogging into your regular walks can be a tremendously powerful tool in your fight for robust bones and effective osteoporosis prevention. Of course, there are certain situations where running should be strictly avoided. It's certainly not a miracle cure for everything, and we must approach it sensibly and thoughtfully. If you've already been diagnosed with late-stage osteoarthritis, typically stage 3 or stage 4, where the cartilage is severely damaged, that kind of high-impact activity can absolutely make things worse and cause significant pain. Acute joint inflammations, such as a flare-up of existing arthritis, are also a definite contraindication. Recent surgery on your joints or spine requires a lengthy and proper recovery period. You should only consider starting running again after getting the clear authorization from both your treating physician and your physiotherapist. Excess weight naturally puts substantial strain on the joints. So, if you are struggling with obesity, it is much safer to begin with gentler activities like walking, swimming, or resistance exercises. Only once you've seen a noticeable reduction in weight and your supporting muscles are significantly stronger should you even attempt to run. In any case, particularly if you are thinking of taking up running in your 60s or 70s, a thorough consultation with a qualified professional, ideally an orthopedic or sports medicine doctor, is absolutely mandatory. This is not just a formality, it is crucial for your safety and long-term well-being. What if you want the benefits of walking and running, but without all the strain? Is there a perfect compromise? Yes, there is, and it's called Nordic walking. It's an absolutely brilliant idea that manages to solve several problems at once. When you use the special poles with the right technique, you aren't simply leaning on them. You actively push yourself off the ground, and this creates two really important effects. Firstly, a significant amount of your body weight shifts onto the poles and your upper body. This means the impact on your knees and hips is reduced by about 30%. That makes Nordic walking much kinder to your joints than a regular stroll. Secondly, you actively engage the muscles in your arms, shoulders, back, and stomach. Essentially, you're training not just your legs, but 90% of all the muscles in your body. This turns a simple walk into a proper, full-body workout. You'll burn nearly 50% more calories than regular walking, and you'll get fantastic cardiovascular exercise. Getting the hang of Nordic walking technique is quite simple, but doing it correctly is absolutely crucial. The biggest mistake beginners make is just pushing the poles out in front of them, like using a typical walking stick. That's not the right way at all. Proper technique actually mimics a cross-country skier's movement. Your step should start with the heel and then smoothly roll forward onto the ball of your foot and toes. Arms and legs move in opposition or contraphase. As your right leg steps forward, your left arm swings forward and vice versa. Keep your arms slightly bent at the elbow and make sure the entire movement comes from your shoulder, not just the elbow joint. The pole should hit the ground roughly level with the middle of your opposite foot. Now, this is the most important part. At the end of the push, you must powerfully drive off the pole, finishing with your arm completely straight behind you. It's this specific thrust that gives you the main benefit, taking the pressure off your lower body and loading up your core and upper body. We highly recommend taking a couple of lessons with a certified instructor. They can ensure you establish the proper form right from the start. Poor technique won't necessarily cause harm, but you'll miss out on most of the benefits. However, when done correctly, Nordic walking truly becomes a wonderful elixir of health. And yet, the most crucial rule, the one that trumps every study, every piece of research out there, is incredibly simple. Listen to your body. By the time you reach 70, you have a wealth of life experience under your belt. Your instincts, those physical sensations, they are your most reliable advisor. No doctor, no personal trainer, knows your body better than you do. Now, if you feel a sharp jolt of pain in a joint during or after a walk or a run, that is not the good kind of ache you need to power through. Hey, it's a clear signal that something is wrong. Maybe you've got the wrong shoes, your technique is off, or perhaps the load is simply too heavy. Pain is your body asking you, begging you even, to stop and take stock. You must learn to distinguish between pleasant muscle fatigue and actual joint pain. The first is the sign of a decent workout. The second is a sign of trouble brewing. Do not ignore those warnings. Rest up, allow time for recovery, and if that pain persists, you absolutely must seek professional advice. Learning how to truly listen to and hear your own body, that is the cornerstone of safe and effective physical activity, no matter your age. Let's not forget the psychological side of things either. Keeping active isn't just about looking after our muscles and joints, is it? It's profoundly important for our mood and overall mental well-being. And the choice between a brisk walk and perhaps a gentle jog is truly down to the individual. For some, a quiet, unhurried stroll through the park is the perfect way to settle the mind, gather your thoughts, and simply de-stress. It gives you that lovely opportunity to enjoy nature and have some quality time just for yourself. But then others find that it's the running, even a short, gentle jog, that provides that real boost of energy and vitality. That famous runner's high, the rush of endorphins, is certainly no myth. It genuinely helps in tackling feelings of anxiety or low mood. So have a think. What brings you the most joy and satisfaction? An activity that feels like a chore and requires forcing yourself simply won't stick around. But the movement that truly sparks positive feelings will become a vital, enjoyable part of your routine, benefiting both your body and your spirit. Always choose what truly speaks to your heart. So how exactly do you safely start exercising or change up your routine once you hit 70? The magic word here is gradual. If you've been living a fairly sedentary life up to now, the knee-jerk reaction shouldn't be trying to hit 10,000 steps straight away or attempting to run a full kilometre. Instead, start with a distance and pace that feels comfortable for you. Perhaps a gentle 15 or 20-minute stroll. After a week, just add 5 minutes to that time. Once you're comfortably walking for 40 or 50 minutes at a brisk pace, you can start thinking about incorporating running elements. Try the famous Jeff Galloway method, 4 minutes of walking, followed by 1 minute of a very slow, gentle jog. Repeat that cycle a few times. If that feels absolutely fine, the following week, try 3 minutes of walking and increase the jog to 1.5 minutes. By doing this very smoothly and slowly, you'll gently condition your joints, ligaments, and muscles for the new demand. In parallel, make sure you add some simple strength exercises, things like chair squats, heel raises for your calves, and glute bridges. This strengthens those crucial protector muscles and makes any physical activity much, much safer. Right then, what have we concluded? If you are 70 years young, what should you choose? Walking or running? The main takeaway message from our investigation is that the whole walking versus running debate is a bit of a red herring. The real villain for our joints isn't the activity itself, but hypodynamia, or just plain lack of movement, and, critically, poor technique when we do move. As we've discovered, a supposedly safe walk done with poor posture and the wrong shoes can actually be more damaging than risky running, provided the running is technically correct, done in decent trainers, and ideally on a softer surface. Moderate running, done regularly, can actually stimulate cartilage health, strengthen bones, and build muscle more effectively than walking. However, brisk walking and Nordic walking are fantastic, low-impact ways to keep things ticking over for anyone who is advised against running or simply doesn't enjoy it. So, the correct answer to this central question isn't either or, it's both and how. The choice really comes down to your current fitness level, underlying health, and what you prefer to do. But remember this above all, the most crucial thing is how you move. And here is the big reveal. It turns out we've been worrying about the wrong enemy all this time. We've demonized running, completely overlooking the fact that harm can come even from a simple daily walk. The most surprising truth is that moderate, impact-based movement isn't a destroyer. It's actually a crucial stimulus for the health of our bones and cartilage. And the real protection for your joints isn't found in rest, but in strong muscles that must be continually trained. The key factor isn't what you're doing, running or walking, but how you do it. The trainers you wear, your posture, the surface you choose, and how regularly you keep at it. The biggest damage to joints isn't caused by movement, but by the sheer lack of it. So, the main takeaway is simple. Keep moving, but do it wisely. Thank you so much for sticking with us and watching this video right through to the end. I truly hope it's been helpful and has helped to bust some of those old myths. If you found this useful, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next interesting health discussions. Now, a question for you. Do you prefer walking or running? And have you ever noticed how different footwear or walking surfaces affect how your joints feel? Please share your experience in the comments below. It's fascinating stuff and really helps out our other viewers. Stay healthy and keep moving with pleasure.